Welcome to the Year of the Movie podcast, the podcast where we talk about movies from the year of the movie 2023.
Woo!
We're your hosts. We started this podcast because 2023 was a weird year for movies. You had 80 for Brady, 65, Strays, a George Foreman movie, Indiana Jones, Mission Impossible, Fast and Furious, and the box office winner that we're talking about today, Barbie.
Barbie. If you like this podcast, you could consider supporting us on Patreon and reviewing and or rating and or following us on Instagram. All those things are super helpful and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're talking about Barbie today.
Last episode we talked about Oppenheimer.
So this is our own Barbenheimer.
But we did it in the opposite order.
Yeah, makes you think.
It was definitely not because we just didn't have time to watch movies that we haven't seen yet.
No, it's purely intentional. We got the big hitters out of the way.
An episode that's coming out soon will be our live recording episode.
Yes. We recorded a live episode this weekend, which is why we were busy.
Yep.
We talked about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. Expect that at some point. I don't know if it's going to be a regular episode or a Patreon episode. We're figuring that out. And also when we get that audio, all that good stuff. Anyway, Barbie. The synopsis of Barbie is that Barbie and Ken are having the time of their lives in the colorful and seemingly perfect world of Barbie Land. However, when they get a chance to go to the real world, they soon discover the joys and perils of living among humans. What were your first impressions when you heard about this movie?
I mean, when I first heard about it, I was just like, why?
Yeah.
It didn't really, it's just another movie based off of a toy. And those can obviously be fun.
Transformers.
Well, I take it back. Those historically aren't ever fun. It was just like, oh, there's gonna be a Barbie movie. All right. But then the trailers started coming out, and I was like, okay, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought, so this movie has a long production timeline. So we'll get into that later, but I vaguely feel like I heard about the Amy Schumer version at some point.
I don't.
That obviously never happened. So I heard about that, I think. And it was just kind of like, okay. And then when this one was like fully announced as being a real thing, then I was just like, oh yeah, that makes total sense. Like, why wouldn't they have made a Barbie movie already? Besides like the Barbie movies that have come out and are like the animated ones. My sister and I were big fans of the Barbie Princess and the Pauper and the Swan Lake, I think. Yeah, the Swan Lake and the Nutcracker ones. All classics of American cinema. So, but to do like a live action one, it kind of felt like, yeah, they should have done this a while ago. I don't think, well, I know I didn't. I intentionally stayed away from learning or seeing anything about this movie.
Sure.
'Cause it was, gonna be and is a movie with huge lead female actress. It's gonna be about women, and I just didn't want to see what the internet's response to that was, so I didn't want to be influenced by anything. So I didn't, the first time that I watched the teaser trailer was a couple of minutes ago. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the trailer, because we always talk about the trailer.
We do. Yeah, we talk about the trailer for reasons. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's cool to see how a movie markets itself when it first comes out. This one is a big example of that.
Yep.
We talk about the trailer and we don't show you the trailer because it's a legally iffy thing to do. And also, this is an audio format. And what are you
For
going to
some
look
of you.
at? For some of you. What are you going to look at? Yeah, I believe it's your turn.
It's my turn.
Mm-hmm.
The teaser trailer is a full-on homage to 2001: A Space Odyssey, but instead of monkeys and apes, it's little girls, and instead of bones, it's baby dolls.
Classic.
The little girl looks up and sees a giant Barbie, which is the obelisk, and Barbie's blocking out the sun. The girls cautiously approach Barbie's legs, holding their baby dolls. A title card says from director Greta Gerwig comes up before a shot zooming in on a little girl with wide eyes staring at the giant Barbie. There's a clear shot of Barbie with sunglasses and a black and white striped bathing suit turning towards the girls. She puts on a huge smile, pulls her sunglasses down, and winks. The girls raise the baby dolls in the air and begin to smash them on the ground, ending with the girl throwing her doll up into space. It rotates and turns into the Barbie movie title as the music changes to a more pop/upbeat song. There are some quick shots of Barbie looking out into Barbie Land, a group of Kens looking stressed, a quick shot of President Barbie, several dance numbers before the title card of July 21st release date.
There were other trailers that gave more specific information about the movie that came out. I think the other big iconic shot from the marketing of this movie is Barbie stepping out of her shoes and then her feet staying arched. Yeah, it's I obviously knew of this trailer or heard about what it showed, even though I didn't watch it. And I think I think people were supportive of, or at least my part of the internet was supportive of the movie existing. And then this came out, and then they were like, "Oh yes, this is going to be good."
Yeah.
Let's talk about the movie.
The movie.
It's got a big cast.
It's got everyone in this movie.
Yeah, you know how last episode for Oppenheimer we said if you can think of a guy, then he's in this movie. This is the other version of that. If you can think of any other person, then they're in this movie.
Unless they had
scheduling conflicts, which so many people had scheduling conflicts that were supposed to be.
Or they were in Oppenheimer.
Or they were in Oppenheimer.
Emily Blunt and Florence Pugh.
Yeah. Okay, so we got Margot Robbie as Barbie. We got Ryan Gosling as Ken. We got Issa Rae as Barbie. All of these people are credited as just Barbie.
Yeah.
Issa Rae is Barbie. She's President Barbie. Kate McKinnon is Barbie. Weird Barbie. Alexandra Shipp as Barbie. I cannot remember which one she is. Emma Mackey as Barbie. Harry Neff as Barbie. I think she's the doctor. Sharon Rooney as Barbie. Simu Liu as Ken. Kingsley Ben-Adir as Ken. Kudigawa as Ken. Shudigawa as Ken. Scott Evans. John Cena, they're both Kens. Michael Cera as Alan. America Ferrera as Gloria. Ariana Greenblatt as Sasha. And Will Ferrell as Mattel CEO. The other big names that are in the cast are just cool people. We've got Helen Mirren as the narrator. Rhea Perlman as Ruth Handler. So the creator of Barbie. And then one of the people that we like, Rob Brydon.
Rob Brydon is also a Ken, and then there's another guy who's not a Ken. He's Will Ferrell's assistant.
Oh, yes.
He's in Sex Education as well as Emma Mackey and Ncuti Gatwa.
Yeah. There were two people credited as Mattel employees on IMDb, and one of them was young Mattel employee, and the other one was an even younger Mattel employee. Yeah, everyone's in this movie. Dua Lipa is in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
All the big hitters.
Yeah.
So a basic plot, if you don't know, is basically Barbie Land is a matriarchy. It's essentially a utopia where every day is the perfect day. Stereotypical Barbie, which is Margot Robbie, begins to question her own mortality and have existential thoughts, and she's told by Weird Barbie that she should go to the real world to find out what's going on with the person who plays with her. Ken sneaks along with Barbie on her trip. They both learn what life is like outside of Barbie land. Barbie first thinks that her owner is a girl named Sasha, who hates Barbies, but finds that she really needs to talk to Sasha's mother, Gloria, who is the one having the existential thoughts. Ken learns about the patriarchy, and he takes his new knowledge back to the other Kens. Barbie tries to fix Barbie land and make the Barbies independent again, but it doesn't work. Gloria gives her the speech from the movie about the impossible standards women face, which helps Barbie, and then they use those ideas to help the other Barbies. The Kens are thrown into chaos with infighting and toxic masculinity, and the Barbies gain control again and restructure society to better avoid oppression. And Ken doesn't know who he is without Barbie, who encourages him to find himself, and then Barbie decides to live in the real world and become a human, and she leaves Barbie Land. This is a very basic
Very.
overview. Yeah. Anything about the plot that you want to mention right off the bat?
No.
Great.
Yeah.
Talk about things that stick out.
Mm-hmm.
Great. The costumes and the set design are the big thing.
Yeah.
We mentioned this a lot during our Oscars episode about just how impressive everything is. The costume designer for this movie said that, like, the thing about Barbie that informed what she did was that Barbie doesn't dress for the day, she dresses for the event or the task. So she goes through all of these costume changes because that is what the task requires, and not like, it's Wednesday, I'm going to put on my outfit. Yeah, set design is cool. There's a lot of inspiration that I have in the production facts section later about how they did everything. I think this movie handles nuance well. It covers so much in like a pretty efficient runtime. It's got this iconic figure where like Margot Robbie was talking about in like her early production meetings with Warner Brothers, how she was saying, like, you've got this thing that is recognizable worldwide. Basically, the only other thing that people might recognize more is Coca-Cola, and like that type of icon, people feel all types of different ways about. Some people hate Barbie and say that she's an example of like setting feminism back and like stereotypes and body image and all that fun stuff. And then it's also dealing with a capitalist company who's representing girlhood with a bunch of men in charge of it.
I mean, who knows better
than Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
No one. He does, like, there was also I think it was the Vogue article that was like a pretty in-depth coverage of things, and it was saying how like Will Ferrell is or Margot Robbie described him as like very obsessed with like little girls' dreams, but in the least creepy way possible. And he's naive or like but well-intentioned. He just like really believes in this system. Yeah, everyone is named Barbie, so there's a sense of like self and like representation. That's a huge theme. That was a thing that Greta Gerwig was like messing around with a lot and describing how it was like pretty trippy to think about, of like everyone is Barbie and Barbie is everyone in this world, and then like there's also like so many different facets of that because of like Mattel had so many different versions of this one person, and like they moved away from like Barbie having different, or like the Barbie line than having different people with names, and now it's just everyone is Barbie, and that is a philosophy thing. Yeah, and then growing up as a girl or adolescent and then being yourself and then hitting a stage where you think you aren't good enough is like also a huge thing where they also mentioned that they didn't want it to be, or they wouldn't describe it as like a coming of age film, but that is like a significant theme in the movie. And there's a lot of parallels with like being a young girl and then no longer feeling confident in like being able to express yourself in a certain way. Not even being a young girl, but just child to growing up stage. Yeah. Um, my other bullet point here is the ending.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we want to talk about anything else before the ending.
I don't know. This is a tricky podcast just because everyone knows Barbie.
Yeah.
And like it was just, I think it unfortunately falls into this was a solid movie that we enjoyed,
Mm-hmm.
so we have less. I feel like I have
Yeah.
less to say about it just because like it was just all the way through solid. I don't want to go beat by beat and be like, I liked this and 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 this
Yeah.
and this, and so it's just
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. It like, yeah, it is in a weird territory of like, I feel like there's a lot that you can talk about with Barbie, but also like for our specific purposes, then it's like not as interesting of a conversation to have
Yeah.
because we're just like, yep, and this one is also good.
Yeah.
And this thing is also good. Yeah.
Musical numbers are good.
Soundtrack is great. Yeah. Uh yeah. Some good cameos.
Mm-hmm.
America Ferrera's real life husband plays her husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked how they showed like Barbie is an iconic figure, but just using like that stand-in of like Barbies or toys as like how you view them differently in different stages of life. Of like you play with, especially with Gloria America Ferrera's character, where like Sasha growing up, she played with Barbies with her daughter, and then Sasha is now at an angsty teen phase, and she has the monologue to Barbie where she's like, "No one likes Barbies. You've set feminism back 50 years, all that stuff," and then, but for then America Ferrera, then she's like, she holds on to this as like, this is the thing that her daughter played with, and it means something more to her, like,
Yeah.
because she also grew up with Barbies and then playing with them with her daughter, and like that means things to different people, and it's got a lot going on in good ways.
Yeah. The movie's also self-aware, which is good.
Oh, it's very self-aware.
Because there's a scene where Margot Robbie Barbie is sad and upset and is talking about not feeling beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And then Helen Mirren, who's the narrator in the film, is like, note to the filmmakers, this point is much more effective
Yeah.
when it's not Margot Robbie.
Yeah. 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 There were I'm just thinking about other stuff that I read about. There's a lot of detail in this movie as like she transitions from being in like the perfect sheltered utopia to wanting to live in the real world and like dealing with real world things like cellulite and like the imperfections and stuff. But I didn't really notice because we've seen this movie more than once, but I didn't really notice either time that like her speech pattern changes a lot. Where in Barbie Land, then she is speaking at a much higher, more feminine register, and then she's got a lot more like declarative statements of like, which I did notice when watching, but like there's no hesitation with anything. She's just like, yeah, I'm going to do this, and then as she gets into the real world and like learns about things, then her voice goes into a lower octave and she has a lot more like pauses and she's unsure in her delivery with stuff. It's like those details are pretty good. Ken is great in this.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling. He didn't steal it, but he he did a great job
Yeah.
of
Being Ken.
being Ken and making his scenes stand out in a movie about Barbie.
Yeah. I know at some point when people were talking about this movie, or like maybe it was even when he was cast and announced, then they were saying that he was too old,
Yeah, they were.
which I don't really see. One, it's Ryan Gosling. He's gonna look great at basically any age.
True.
But I don't know. I don't think of Ken as like a young man. I also played with with Kens less, so I don't really have a strong attachment to them.
Yeah. I mean, I do think Ken is
He's supposed to be young.
supposed to be young, and
Ryan Gosling isn't old either.
no, but he is like what, 10 years older than Margot Robbie?
Something. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I get why people are saying that, just from like the literal age standpoint.
Yeah.
But Ryan Gosling doesn't look old,
Mm-hmm.
and I do think he's
Right for this.
right
Yeah.
for Ken, like of the Hollywood actors. Yeah, because like Ken isn't like bulky, muscly like a Chris Hemsworth.
He's chiseled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but which Ryan Gosling is chiseled.
Yeah.
He's like the lean, muscular, like he's ripped, but he's not jacked.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of good-looking, like Chris Hemsworth or Evans, even is like they're jacked, and so I don't know, like
If they're the right kind of muscly.
Ryan Reynolds is the only other one, but he's older,
I know. I was thinking about that.
and he would have just come across as Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I was
So, like,
thinking of like who else could it have possibly been?
yeah,
And yeah, I also thought of Ryan Reynolds, but I also think that like he's kind of shoehorned himself into being self-aware in a different way
yeah,
because of Deadpool, and I think that like which I enjoy him, but I always associate him with like that kind of sarcastic delivery, and I don't think that's right for Ken. Ken is
No.
very earnest and you know, sheltered. It's hard to think of someone else.
Ryan Gosling, like I think is just Ken. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there are other Kens in this movie, but they're different variants.
Yeah. There were a couple different people that were considered for Alan. I went to Michael Cera.
Yeah.
Jonathan Groff was the main one, who he was offered the role and then turned it down for scheduling reasons. And then Matt Bomer was offered a role, or he auditioned, was offered a role, and then also had to turn it down for scheduling reasons. And I don't know if it was Alan or if it was something else.
Who?
He's actor.
Sorry, the name I was
Matt Bomer.
Matt Bomer. Yeah, I don't. I mean, that's another one where it's just like Michael Cera. Just I don't know.
He also works for that, or like in that role, which some of his stuff was, or like the lines that went to him were originally for other characters. Like Ben Affleck was supposed to be a cameo in this movie,
Oh.
And then also had scheduling conflicts with Air because he was working on that.
Oh yeah.
So he was supposed to be someone in the beach scene where that big fight breaks out. And then his lines were rewritten and given to Alan's character instead.
Gotcha.
Which, I don't know why I don't think Ben Affleck works in this movie.
I mean, he is a good-looking dude.
Yeah.
He is muscular.
Yeah.
Like I get
I
it.
get it.
You just don't like Ben Affleck.
I don't like Ben Affleck. I will let my personal bias stand.
You know who they should have gotten? Ron Perlman as Ken.
Oh,
Just
boy.
the biggest.
My job is beach.
Why is that so hard to understand?
Yeah.
A beach.
I can't even tell you what Ron Perlman's voice sounds like, but that's my impression now. Yep. We can talk about the ending.
Yeah.
The ending is my one meh about this movie, specifically the final line.
I mean, outside of the woke agenda this movie pushes,
Besides that,
then yeah, the ending is the ending joke.
the ending joke. Spoilers for Barbie. The ending joke is so like there was a running theme through the movie of like Barbie dolls are smooth. They don't have reproductive parts. So then when Barbie becomes a human, then she's she's in a car with Gloria and her husband, and they're dropping her off somewhere, and it's really framed as like she's going in for a job interview.
Yeah.
And they're like, "You got this. You're gonna do great." Like they're hyping her up, and then she steps out of the car and she goes into this office. She introduces herself as Barbara Handler. So she took Ruth Handler's last name. And then she says, like, "I'm here for my gynecologist appointment." And then the movie ends.
Yeah.
Greta Gerwig wanted to include that line as, like, she described it as a mic drop kind of joke. And wanted to... I don't really... Yeah.
Yeah.
The phrase mic drop to me has become cringy, but she wanted to include it specifically because for like young girls who might feel uncomfortable about their bodies and to not feel embarrassed about it, and like gynecology is a thing and you should take care of your body and all of that good stuff. I think that's talked about how much this movie packs into it. I think that's too much.
Yeah,
for
I
a
also
single
think
line.
it's weird because this movie, in my opinion, isn't aimed at young girls.
It's theoretically aimed at... I think you can make an argument either way that it is aimed at young girls. It's also aimed at everyone.
Well, it's a PG-13. And I don't know, like... Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, like, I remember also, like, people being upset that it wasn't more kid-friendly. Which, like...
Oh, I don't care about that.
No, I'm just like, I don't think it's not a kid-friendly movie. But obviously there are parents.
I feel like 13 is an appropriate age to watch this movie.
Yeah.
Of like, you are going through puberty. You are probably also feeling a little bit existential and uncomfortable and all that great stuff. And then this movie would probably feel good to watch.
Yeah.
My issue with this is a woke agenda issue where I feel like it's not woke enough. Where this movie talks about everything. It talks about body positivity, it talks about representation, it talks about freaking social classes and like patriarchy and oppression and all of this stuff. And the one thing that it doesn't talk about is gender. And I feel like that is like it doesn't talk about gender outside of the gender binary specifically. And like, I get it, you gotta pick your battles. And no movie needs to do absolutely everything. But Barbie's whole thing is like, she's becoming a woman, she's learning what it's like to be in the real world, all of that stuff. You don't need to have reproductive parts you don't need to have specific human bits to be like, no, I'm a woman. And ending the note on that of being like, I'm going to a gynecologist, so now I'm a real woman, just made me feel like meh. That's it. Otherwise, it's a pretty good movie.
I just didn't think it was a funny joke.
That too.
It felt like a weak ending to me.
It did.
Yeah.
Like,
from a comedy standpoint.
Yes.
Really solid movie with really funny bits. And then it was just gynecologist. Credits.
credits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like a way to do it could have been like more of a like show a new version of Her Perfect Day and like bookend it in that way, because she has the Barbie Land version of the Perfect Day, and then she starts to malfunction and then things go wrong, still in Barbie Land, and you could have done a third version of that, because rule of threes is a thing comedy. You could have had another one to end with of like, and now she's in the real world, and this is like, things are imperfect, but like now she is cool with that, or like she's learning or something.
Yeah.
And that's how I don't know. It doesn't feel like enough of a resolution, and it's also like, that's another thing that was done intentionally, is like, and now she can go anywhere and do anything because that's what Barbie is supposed to represent. So I get that, but like, I don't know. I feel like there's a way to find that line a bit more between like, she can do anything and also being realistic, and like, and now she's job hunting on LinkedIn. Anyway, anything else before we get to production facts?
I don't think so.
Great. I've got so many. So this movie was released, or it had a premiere at the Shrine Auditorium in LA on July 9th, 2023. It had a theatrical release on July 21st, 2023. It's the Barben part of Barbenheimer.
Really?
Yeah. There is some speculation that Warner Brothers intentionally picked this date because of their fallout with Nolan that we talked about in an Oppenheimer episode. But it also, Barbie took over the release slot for Coyote versus Acme.
Man, what a dual movie event that would have been.
Yeah.
Both explosive.
Coyote versus Acme. It doesn't quite roll off the tongue.
Appiote versus Acmeheimer.
These sound like fake lawyers. It's got an hour and 54-minute runtime, and it's rated PG-13. It's got an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes with an 83% audience score. It's got an 80 out of 100 on Metacritic and an A on CinemaScore. It's overall pretty positive, shockingly. Mm-hmm. There's some critique that some felt that the critique of consumerism in this movie doesn't go far enough, which it's, produced by Mattel Pictures. I don't know what to tell you about that.
Yeah, it's not going to go against itself.
It had a budget of $145 million with a reported marketing budget of $150 million. And boy, did it pay off. It earned $1.446 billion. It is the highest grossing film of 2023, with a $636.2 million of that being domestic, and then $809.4 million coming from other territories. It is the first film by a solo female filmmaker to cross the $1 billion global mark, and it was projected to gross between $90 and $125 million in its opening weekend, and then it earned $162 million. It broke so many records. It's the biggest financial success of 2023. None of this is surprising. Yeah, those are just some of the highlights. The production timeline. So we start in the mid-1980s.
Okay.
Mattel has the idea of doing a live-action Barbie film, and it's in development with Canon Films. 2009.
A bit of a jump.
The development picks up again as Mattel announces they signed a partnership with Universal Pictures and producer Lawrence Mark, but nothing comes from it. April 2014, Mattel partners with Sony Pictures. They have producers on board and plans to have a screenplay written by Jenny Bix, which is the writer on Sex and the City. Filming is anticipated to begin at the end of that year. It doesn't. March 2015, other screenwriters are brought on board as Sony asks for additional rewrites. December 2016, Amy Schumer enters negotiations to star in one of these screenplay versions. She also helped to rewrite the screenplay with her sister. Then March 2017, Schumer exits negotiations, claiming scheduling conflicts at the time. She left March 2017. They were scheduled to start filming June 2017. She has since said that it was actually due to creative differences with the producers. July 2017, Anne Hathaway is considered for Barbie. Sony hires Olivia Milch for rewrites and attaches director Aletha Jones in 2018 to try and attract Hathaway. It seems like they really wanted her. Um, August 2018, Mattel CEO Ynon Kreiz hires Robbie Brenner, who is now the head of Mattel Films. October 2018, Sony's option on the film expires, which causes Anne Hathaway, Aletha Jones, and the attached producers to all leave the project. And then rights are transferred to Warner Brothers, and Robbie almost immediately enters negotiations, and Patty Jenkins is briefly considered for directing. July 2019, Margot Robbie's casting is confirmed. Robbie Brenner partners with Margot Robbie's production company Lucky Chap Entertainment, and her husband Tom Ackerley and her friend Josie McNamara join as producers. They all basically run Lucky Chap together. 2019/2020, at some point, Margot Robbie approaches Greta Gerwig to write the screenplay. She was finishing post-production on another film, and then she agrees with the stipulation that her partner Noah Baumbach is a co-writer. The 2020-2021-ish, Gerwig and Baumbach write the screenplay while in the pandemic lockdown, which heavily influenced this movie. She said that, like, part of it was, like, because of the mindset at the time, they just kind of went with literally whatever, because the general thought was, like, who knows what happens next? Let's do whatever we want. July 2021, Greta Gerwig signs on to direct the film. And then October 2021, Ryan Gosling is in final negotiations. And March 22nd to July 21st, 2022, principal photography takes place. And now the movie exists.
Yeah, I could see Anne Hathaway.
Oh, yeah.
Margot Robbie's the perfect casting.
Yeah.
But I could see Anne Hathaway.
I agree.
So glad it wasn't Amy Schumer.
Yeah.
She's just...
We're not her biggest fans, and I think she's said some stuff in the past 6 months that people are also not her biggest fans.
Yeah.
So it would have been a wildly different movie, and I don't think... I'm not surprised that she had creative differences with producers. I'm also imagining that there were several creative differences with Mattel. Because, like, just reading about how much, like, Mattel was the CEO specifically was, like, very open to a lot of stuff that Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig wanted to do with this movie. But it seems like it was really just a perfect storm combination of, like, all of the right people worked on this and had the right intentions. Not that Amy Schumer didn't, but there was a very specific vision, and Mattel had to, like, really go out on a limb for all of it.
Yeah.
I don't want to see whatever version it would have been.
Didn't you say that Greta Gerwig's version had a fart scene?
Oh, there was yeah, I totally forgot about that. Yes, at one point there was a whole, like, fart opera, like an extended scene.
So sometimes it's good that studios interfere. Very rarely. Very rarely is that good. But this time?
Yeah. They had so much leeway with this movie. You gotta pick your specific battles, and I think Mattel did it. It's got some awards, a lot of nominations.
Yeah. It probably should have won more.
They probably should have won more. It's one of the top 10 films of the year from the National Board of Review and the American Film Institute, so that's pretty good.
Yep.
It was nominated for 12 Grammys. It was also nominated for 9 Golden Globes, and it won for Best Original Song and the inaugural Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award. I think it's pretty good.
And that one that it won, that was when I'm Just Ken won.
For Best Original Song?
Yeah.
No, that's What Was I Made For?
Really?
Yeah.
For
Golden Globes?
I thought I'm Just Ken won, though. It won something.
It. I know.
Because everyone was surprised. Even Ryan Gosling. There's that clip of Ryan Gosling. He's like, "What?" And then Billie Eilish won the Oscar.
Hmm.
I'm almost positive.
Hmm. I can Google right now if you want to cut this out.
We can Google right now. We don't have to
Great.
cut anything out.
Oh
I'll just
no.
keep talking.
Great.
Because I'm Just Ken won at the Golden Globes, and Ryan Gosling was like, "What? Really?" Because Ryan Gosling was pretty vocal about this movie and its nominations and wins not being to the women who worked on this film.
It did win Best Original Song.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Yes. I was gonna say that you don't know if like the award was made specifically because of Barbie, but like it's a pretty good sign if an award category was created because like your thing needs recognition and there's not a specific category for you
Yeah.
yet. Anyway, it was nominated for 8 Oscars, including 2 for Best Original Song, and it won for What Was I Made For. There were no nominations for Margot Robbie or Greta Gerwig on anything, which we've talked about before, and I do consider it a snub for both of them, just because
Yeah.
I knew that Margot Robbie was a huge part of like the production of this movie, but I didn't realize like just necessarily how much of a driving force she was behind it, and like getting Greta Gerwig on board and like putting this team together. And then she also had been keeping an eye on the production timeline that we just went through this entire time, and like, man, it'd be like someone's got to make that movie, and like trying to get in meetings with the specific people
Yeah.
for Lucky Chap and everything. So she did it. The tagline of this movie is "She's everything, he's just Ken." I think that was one of the most recognizable taglines from the last year. Margot Robbie, some of the production facts that I think are like the more well-known fun facts about this movie is that Margot Robbie pitched the film to Warner Brothers herself. She compared it to Jurassic Park and joked that it would earn them $1 billion. She also didn't consider herself for the role of Barbie. Her perfect version of Barbie energy, which is what they based on, like, when they were bringing in people to audition for the movie, they were like, who has Barbie energy?
Yeah.
They described it as being very beautiful, but also incredibly sincere. Her perfect version of Barbie was Gal Gadot, who was not available. I think she was having a baby.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty solid excuse.
Gal Gadot's good. I don't know if main Barbie would have been right.
Yeah. I think, like, you have to be more high energy. And
Yeah.
Gal Gadot doesn't, like...
She's more reserved, typically.
She is very beautiful and super sincere from what I can tell, but I agree. She's obviously leading material. She's Wonder Woman.
She's right.
Yeah, but yeah, Wonder Woman is more like stoic.
Yeah. That's the word.
Yeah, and Gal Gadot has a different type of charisma than Margot Robbie has. Margot Robbie left Ryan Gosling a present from Barbie to Ken every day of filming, and it was all related to his job of beach, to try and help him better understand what that meant. So it was stuff like a puka shell necklace and a sign that says "Pray for waves." Yep. It was important to Margot Robbie and to Lucky Chap Productions in general that Gerwig and Baumbach could write a script without any outside influence. That was a big thing that kept coming up in the production timeline, was just how many rewrites were happening. So the film treatment included an abstract poem about Barbie that was influenced by the Apostles' Creed. Why not?
Yeah.
And then Lucky Chap, Mattel, and Warner Brothers didn't see the script until after it was finished. Noah Baumbach also didn't know that they were working on the project until after Greta Gerwig agreed that they'd do it. And then Greta Gerwig had a sleepover with all of the Barbies before filming began. The Kens were invited to stop by, but not to stay over. Uh, and then Ryan Gosling couldn't make it, so he sent a Scottish singing telegram instead.
All right.
Yeah. And Gerwig also felt that old/classic Technicolor films were the main influence on Barbie, specifically the red shoes and the umbrellas of Cherbourg. I don't know that one. I know the red shoes. They had screenings every Sunday during filming of different films that influenced Barbie. And then in that review, or that interview to Vogue, Greta Gerwig said that those films have such a high level of what we came to call authentic artificiality. Gerwig says, "You have a painted sky and a soundstage, which is an illusion, but it's also really there. The painted backdrop is really there. The tangibility of the artifice is something that we kept going back to." And then the director of photography, Rodrigo Prieto, created a specific color template for the film with this idea in mind, and it was nicknamed Technobarbie. The set design discussions began a year before filming started, because they knew that it would be just so involved with all of the practical elements. There's a lot of stuff that's filmed on sound stages, a lot of miniatures, a lot of things like force perspective and stuff. So that the production used a very specific shade of pink, which is Pantone 219, and due to supply chain issues of the pandemic, and there was also a lot of damaged stock from like frost and low temperatures. So Barbie production used the company's entire supply of this shade of pink. Emerald Fennell played Midge in Barbie, and Lucky Chap also produced her film Saltburn, which is another one we're going to have to talk about at some point. And then John Cena was spontaneously offered a role in the film after paying for Margot Robbie's food in London.
Would that have been during the Suicide Squad filming?
I'm not sure.
Probably would have.
Yeah.
Because they're both in that.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. He was just... I guess he had Kenergy. If they were looking for Barbie energy in auditions, and then...
I mean, I agree. Yeah. He does. But going back to the point before, he's too bulky to be like the main Ken.
Yeah.
Which is why he has like a cameo type of...
He does, yeah.
Ken.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else we want to cover before getting to our rating, which is not a surprise because we've mentioned it on other episodes?
I don't think so.
Nah. That's fine.
Our rating system is out of 4 with 5 options. 0 out of 4 is no. Stop making movies.
Drop it.
1 out of 4 is it was a movie. 2 is well made. 3 is enjoyable and kind of technically good. 4 is Oscar worthy. I gave it a 4.
I gave it a 4.
Does this mean it's our perfect 4? Have we had a perfect 4 before? I can't remember.
We have probably had other 4s.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't remember if we have.
Asteroid City.
Asteroid City?
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
This is our and the Holdovers.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's another perfect 4.
It's got some good movies to compare it
to. Typically, sometimes we talk about another movie we've watched.
We claim to always talk about another movie that we've watched.
We're often too busy.
Yeah.
Because we're not the people that just like to watch tons and tons of movies.
You know, we could talk about the shorts that were in our block. We watched those recently.
Our short film, Hello, My Name is Friend Man, was recently in
Indie Film Fest.
Indie Film Fest, a fantastic festival run by very kind people.
We had a good time.
It's
the other reason why our weekend was so busy.
Yeah.
We were part of the LOL Shorts block.
Which...
the comedy one.
Yeah. There were a total of 5 films in the comedy block, including ours.
Yeah.
They were all kind of long for short films. Like, the shortest was 13 minutes.
Which is good, or, like, we were happy with that, because Friend Man is long for a short film.
Yeah.
It's 24 minutes. So, like, being with other longer films was good. Yeah, there were some fun ones. I think it was a good group in
There were
general.
2 French films,
There were.
and then, including ours, the other films I think are all Indiana based.
Yes.
I don't know for
I don't know
sure
about the SAG film.
yeah, I could be wrong about that one,
Yeah.
but 2 of them,
Yeah.
including ours,
Mhm.
was an Indiana shot film.
Mhm.
Yeah, they were good.
Yeah.
I liked the French ones.
Mhm.
The second French one was not LOL,
It's a different type of humor. There was
but
a
it
wide
was shot really well.
there's a wide variety of types of comedy that were in
Yeah.
that block, which was good too. Cause
Could not
yeah.
tell you the name of the French films because
it was Fortissimo,
Fortissimo was the music
the
one.
musical one of a priest plays the piano, and then one day it's like his big thing, and then one day this little girl is dropped off or like finds the church and she's all alone, and then she's like a piano prodigy, and then the attention isn't on the priest anymore, and it gets very goofy.
Yep.
Yeah, that one's very good. It's got a good choreographed action sequence to
The
music.
sound design is really great on that.
Yeah. Also some impressive shots and stuff. The other one is oh shoot, I had it in my head. It's something about the
Changing of Atoms or
yeah,
something.
the random yeah, the random distribution of atoms.
It's La légère déviation des atomes.
Yeah.
Which, yeah. The deviation of atoms. Basically.
Yeah.
It was good. I like it. Some people
People that we saw it with, it wasn't
their favorite.
I would say that I liked it more the second time that I saw it.
Yeah. It was just shot really well, and I
It
think
is,
that's
yeah.
more like what got me.
It's very aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
The second time that I watched it, I was like, I don't know what it was about the first time, but I just thought maybe it was like the title or
I feel
something,
like also it's a French film, so you expect it to mean more than it.
or at least be like pretentious. Yeah, something about I had read the title and the description of all of the films before we saw them, but it had
Can't
also
do that.
it had also been like a week at least since I had done that until watching them. So I was like, oh, this is something about atoms, and like they go in different directions, and then this guy meets this girl at a party. So I thought it was like a split timeline thing, and then I was watching it and I just confused myself with that instead of just watching the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So the second time I enjoyed it a lot more.
Yeah. And then the American ones, one was called I'm Pretty Sure My Therapist Thinks I'm a Bad Actor.
Mm-hmm.
It was well made. I think there were definitely parts of it that I wish it had leaned into more.
Yes.
The direction it went, it doesn't mean this is a bad direction, it's just not the direction I would have gone with it. And I feel like it kind of boxed itself in a bit.
It got meta for a second, and I wish that it had gone deeper into that. But the premise of it is this patient kidnaps their therapist to confront them because their therapist saw them in a play and then didn't say anything. So they were confronting their issues, and like there was some funny stuff like I thought like it did a better job than Renfield in like committing to the bit of including like contemporary therapy conversation and talking points into a script, which like was a thing that Renfield claimed to do and then kind of dropped it halfway through.
Yeah.
And this one sticks with it more, and I thought that was very entertaining. I do wish that the meta thing was more present in it.
Yep.
But I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the other one that wasn't ours was a film called Hostages, and it's about these friends who just graduated who play a game that they call Hostage, where they split it up into 2 teams and basically leave a team in the middle of nowhere to find their way back. And then whichever team makes their way back first wins.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think it's a really good premise.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's something there. There are very funny parts in it. Like the beginning was very funny.
The first
3 minutes.
the first 3 minutes are or like the even just like the first 10 seconds where it's a bunch of quick shots of like
Yeah.
being dropped off, hoods taken off the head, like they're looking around,
Yeah.
like it sets up really quickly like this action sequence, and then it explains the game and does like a flashback.
Yeah.
So I liked that a lot. I think it had a similar, or I feel similarly about it as I do the bad actor one, where I wish that it had focused on different things, and I wish that they had focused on the game
Yeah.
more. Like the game is obviously the narrative structure of it, but like
It to me it felt like a pitch film for a feature because the idea of this film and everything they were cramming into it was like, oh, okay, this could work if it was a feature and there was more time to focus on these beats.
yes,
But there were times where like two people would like stop to take a break and then the guy was like, I gotta tell you something. I should have told you this a while ago.
I got it. Yeah,
I'm being shipped out after basic training, so I'm not coming back.
yeah. That
And like there's this weird emotional beat, but it's there's not enough time to really focus on it
you
or
don't
like
know
build it up.
you don't know enough about the characters for that emotional beat to really have
Yeah.
enough meaning to take it seriously.
Yeah.
And I like everything was happening and I was watching it and it was like I get exactly what they're going for, but you gotta just focus on the game if
Yeah.
it's a 13-minute film.
Yeah. And this one was a student film.
Mhm.
So, like there's a lot that is still needs to learn and be focused on. There were production elements of like quality of things that like can improve just by doing it more
Yeah.
and
But the same can be said about our stuff.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
like, and we both got into the same festival. So
I'm not critique like it.
no, I'm not saying you are. I'm saying
Yeah.
you know, but I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's it.
I think that's it. Our live podcast episode will come out soon in some form.
Mm-hmm.
Follow us on Instagram. Support us on Patreon. It's $5 a month.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good. We got some bonus content on there.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna have some more on there
Mhm.
in the coming months.
Yeah.
But if you want to leave questions or comments, we'll probably respond on our other podcasts, the Virtual House Sessions. But for now, we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.